Good evening. Tonight, we in the sports world are in mourning. As earlier this evening, the sports world lost a true legend in the broadcasting field. Tonight, we are in mourning. As earlier this evening, and as reported by our own good old MF Michael Fletcher in our TXN Sports World Messenger chat, Greg Gumbel, best known for his work in the NFL and the NCAA tournament, passed away at the age of 78 due to cancer. Tonight, before we get into our business of the NFL, which Mr. Gumbel did so very eloquently for NBC and CBS, we are going to take this moment. We're going to take a few minutes and we are going to pay our respects to this pioneer of sports broadcasting. 50 plus years of experience. Hello, friends. Anthony Florio here for what will be our Week 17 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday. I am joined, as always, by not only my elite panel, but two of my dearest friends and two men who share in the same vision that I have always had, and that is to be a consummate professional in the world of sports broadcasting. Good old MF Michael Fletcher is here. Michael Bullock is here. And before we get into the NFL, we are going to take a few minutes to honor the memories and the legacy, and pay our respects to this true pioneer of the world of sports broadcasting, Greg Gumbel, who passed away earlier this evening, due to cancer. He was 78 years old. I'm going to take that off for just a moment, as we want to, at this moment, we want to share a statement was released earlier this evening. And the statement is as follows, and I quote, this from his wife, Marcy, and his daughter, Michelle. It is with profound sadness that we share the passing of our beloved husband and father, Greg Gumbel. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by much love after a courageous battle with cancer. Greg approached his illness like one would expect he would, with stoicism, grace, and positivity. He leaves behind a legacy of love, inspiration, and dedication to over 50 extraordinary years in the sports broadcasting industry, and his iconic voice will never be forgotten. Greg's memory will forever be treasured by his family, dearest friends, colleagues, and all who loved him. Very well said indeed. And also, the network that he called home for many years, CBS. CBS released a statement also. David Burson. He said, and I quote, the CBS sports family is devastated by the passing of Greg Gumbel. There has never been a finer gentleman in all of television. He was beloved and respected by those of us who had the honor to call him a friend and colleague, a tremendous broadcaster and gifted storyteller. Greg led one of the most remarkable and groundbreaking sports broadcasting careers of all time. He was a familiar and welcoming voice for fans across many sports, including the NFL and March Madness, highlighted by the Super Bowl and Final Four. Greg broke barriers and set the standard for others to follow. It is an extremely sad day for all of us at CBS Sports and the entire sports community. We will miss Greg dearly and send our deepest condolences to his wife, Marcy, daughter, Michelle, and his entire family, which also includes fellow broadcaster and younger brother, Bryant Gumbel. And this one totally caught us off guard. We all remember earlier this year when Greg Gumbel was unable to participate in the NCAA tournament this year. They said it was due to family health issues. There's a small part of me that was thinking maybe he was the one who had the health issues. I mean, I didn't know anything was wrong with him. And then it was 5:40 this afternoon, a little over 5 hours ago, that MF sent us the word. He had the unfortunate responsibility of having to share this devastating news with myself and Michael Bullock in our TXN Sports World News and Views Messenger chat. And then a few minutes later, Michael Bullock called me up and we shared our favorite memories of Greg Gumbel, and I felt that it was in the absolute best interest to open tonight's show with our favorite memories of Greg Gumbel, and there are a lot of them. The first thing that immediately comes to mind, of course, March Madness, and especially what he did so very, very well when he, along with the likes of Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis and a host of others, on Selection Sunday, when he would unveil at first the 64-team bracket field, which would eventually grow into a 68-team bracket field. He would always unveil the seedings, and he would always, let us all know, this team was the champion of the Big East, or this team was the SEC, or would throw in a great stat about and led by this coach and this other coach and all that. And I'm going to make a decree right here and right now. Starting next March 2025 and going forward, I will do my absolute best to honor Greg Gumbel's memory. And when I unveil the 68 team field starting next March and every year after that, for as long as I'm allowed to do so, I will do it exactly the way Mr. Gumbel did it. And he did it so damn eloquently for so many years. And I will do my absolute best to honor his memory when we get to Selection Sunday. Of course, he wasn't just known for Selection Sunday. He was also known for his work on the NFL, not just on CBS, but before so on NBC, where he would serve as the studio host for the NFL on NBC pre-show. And then, of course, he took his talents to CBS, where he started at CBS beforehand and was the master of ceremonies for a few Super Bowls, as a matter of fact. And just trying to pull this up here. He was best known for his various assignments for CBS Sports, most notably the National Football League and NCAA basketball. He became the first African-American announcer to be the play-by-play man of a major sports championship in the United States when he was the lead commentator for Super Bowl 35 on CBS, January of 2001, the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants. And he would then call another Super Bowl, Super Bowl 38, in February of 2004, the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots. Gumbel was most recently the studio host for CBS men's college basketball coverage and was a play-by-play broadcaster for the NFL on CBS until 2023. Born in New Orleans, Louisiana, the first child of parents Richard Gumbel, a judge, and Rhea Alice Lasesny. As a young man, he grew up on Chicago's South Side, where he was raised Catholic, attending and graduating from De La Salle Institute. Before becoming a broadcaster, Gumbel graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in English from Loras College, where he also played on the baseball team. He had two sisters, Renee Gumbel Farahi and Rhonda Gumbel Thomas, and a younger brother, Bryant Gumbel, who also pursued a network television broadcasting career. In 1973, Greg's brother Bryant, then working as a television sportscaster at KNBC in Los Angeles, informed him that another NBC-owned and operated station, WMAQ-TV in Chicago, was auditioning for a sports announcer. At the time, Greg was selling hospital supplies in Detroit. He ultimately got the job, returned to Chicago, and worked at WMAQ-TV for 7 years. The sportscaster he replaced, Dennis Swanson, went on to become the president of ABC Sports. And prior to his rising to prominence at CBS, Gumbel worked for MSG, ESPN, and WFAN Radio in New York City. While at ESPN, he anchored SportsCenter and did play-by-play for early NBA games. On MSG, Gumbel served as a backup announcer for Marv Albert on New York Knicks broadcasts, as well as providing coverage for college basketball. When MSG signed a huge contract to broadcast New York Yankees games in 1989, Gumbel served as host of the pregame and postgame shows. In addition to his MSG duties, he was the host of the first radio morning show on radio station WFAN. However, station management replaced him with WNBC radio personality Don Imus once WFAN took over WNBC's AM 660 frequency. Gumbel's CBS career began with part-time work as an NFL announcer in 1988. In 1989, he began announcing college basketball as well. He became host of the NFL Today alongside of Terry Bradshaw for the 1990 to 1993 seasons. He also anchored CBS's coverage of Major League Baseball, college football, and in 1999, CBS's coverage for the Daytona 500 and Pepsi 400. Besides his hosting duties, Gumbel provided play-by-play for the NBA alongside Quinn Buckner. Major League Baseball, including the 1993 American League Championship Series between the Chicago White Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays, alongside of Jim Cott, and College World Series Baseball. He was the primetime anchor for the 1994 Winter Olympic Games from Lillehammer, Norway, and co-anchor for the weekday morning broadcast of the 1992 Winter Olympics from Albertville, France. Gumbel moved to NBC in 1994, following CBS's losses of the NFL and Major League Baseball broadcasting contracts. Gumbel's last on-air assignment for CBS was providing play-by-play for the College World Series. While at NBC, Gumbel hosted NBC's coverage of the 1994 Major League Baseball All-Star Game from Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. He also did play-by-play for the 1995 Major League Baseball National League Division Series and National League Championship Series between the Cincinnati Reds and the Atlanta Braves, on both occasions teaming with Joe Morgan. Did play-by-play for the NBA on NBC, hosted NBC's daytime coverage of the 1996 Summer Olympics from Atlanta, and hosted the 1995 World Championships of Figure Skating, and served as the studio host for the NFL on NBC. Gumbel left NBC after the network broadcast of Super Bowl 32 to return to CBS. His first major assignment was to serve as studio host for the network's coverage of college basketball, including the NCAA men's basketball tournament. As CBS had just acquired the rights to NBC's previous NFL package, Gumbel joined the broadcast team as the lead announcer with fellow NBC alumnus Phil Simms as his color man. Gumbel was the lead announcer for the NFL on CBS between 1998 and 2003, calling Super Bowls 35 and 38. For the 2004 NFL season, Gumbel traded positions with Jim Nantz as host of the NFL Today, with Nantz taking over as lead announcer. At the end of the 2005 NFL season, Gumbel was replaced as studio host of the NFL Today by James Brown. Gumbel returned to the broadcast booth as the number 2 play-by-play man, replacing the late Dick Enberg alongside color man Dan Dierdorf until Dierdorf retired after the 2013-14 season. Gumbel also worked alongside Trent Green in the number 3 team from 2014 until 2019. He worked in a 3-man booth with Green and Bruce Arians for the 2018 season. Gumbel then traded spots with Kevin Harlan in 2020, teaming with Rich Gannon. Anna Marcelletta became Gumbel's partner in the number 4 slot the following year after CBS declined to renew Rich Gannon's contract. CBS Sports extended its contract with Gumbel on March 15th of 2023, which allowed him to continue hosting college basketball while stepping back from NFL coverage. However, Gumbel was absent from March Madness coverage in 2024 due to family health issues. Gumbel was the 3rd man to serve as both host and play-by-play announcer for Super Bowls. The first 2 were the late Dick Enberg and the legendary Al Michaels, respectively. He hosted the pregame shows for Super Bowls 26 on CBS and 30 and 32 on NBC before calling Super Bowls 35 and 38 on CBS. Jim Nantz became the 4th man to do so after he called Super Bowl 41 for CBS. And during his tenure as the chief anchor of the NFL Today, he served alongside co-anchors Dan Marino, Shannon Sharpe, and Boomer Esiason. The group was known to call him by his nickname, Gumby. What a legend. A living legend in every aspect. You know, I talked about this with Bullock earlier. Some of his standout calls for me, 3 calls on the NBA on NBC that stood out more than anything to me. Mario Elie, Game 7 of the 1995 second-round series with the Houston Rockets and the Phoenix Suns. Elie hits that corner 3, and he yells out, "Mario Elie with the 3." And then, of course, 1997 Western Conference Finals, Game 4, Eddie Johnson, when he screamed out Johnson at the buzzer, got it. And then in 1990, and then 2 games later in Game 6, John Stockton with the 3 that sent the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals. Stockton for 3, got it. And John Stockton sends the Utah Jazz to the NBA Finals. Legendary. Of course, he had a lot of great moments with the NFL on CBS as well. Of course, some great moments, including that very first game when the NFL returned to CBS, the New York Jets and the San Francisco 49ers, when Garrison Hearst broke that 96-yard touchdown run to win the game for San Francisco. What a moment that was. And then from there, countless great moments in the NFL. And, of course, 2 moments that Michael Bullock will personally never forget. The Tuck Rule game, January the 19th of 2002, the Snow Bowl, in what ended up being the final game at the legendary Foxborough Stadium. And, of course, Super Bowl 38, Adam Vinatieri with that 41-yard field goal. That's a moment MF and I will truly never forget, where that was, quote-unquote, my first Super Bowl as the lead commentator for our side of things. And I will always remember this call like it was yesterday, where Vinatieri was going for the field goal. I simply say the kick is on the way, and you can hear MF yell out, "He got it!" And then I channeled my inner Chris Berman by saying, "Oh my goodness, he's done it again!" And the rest is history. And so many great memories. But those are the standout memories for me. There's countless others, but those are the ones that really, really stood out to me. And all I can say right now is on behalf of all of us here at Talking Wrestling, at not just Talking Wrestling TXN, but mainly TXN Sports World, we simply want to say to you, Greg Gumbel, on behalf of all of us here, first off, our thoughts our prayers and our condolences to his wife Marcy, his daughter Michelle, and his brother Bryant, his sisters, the entire Gumbel family, his fans, his friends, and all who were fortunate enough to call this man a colleague. And now he's on his way up to heaven, where he'll be reunited with his longtime NBA on NBC broadcast group, himself, Steve Snapper Jones, and Bill Walton. And they're going to be calling games up there, for all I know. So, on behalf of all of us here at TXN Sports World, to you, Greg Gumbel, we have never meant this any more than we ever have before. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the inspiration. But most of all, thank you for Greg Gumbel. Rest in peace, good sir. You will be truly, sorely missed. And thank you for also serving as an inspiration for the three of us to pursue this wonderful field of sports broadcasting. One of the many inspirations, that man right there, beyond the shadow of a doubt. So I don't know what else there is for me left to say here, except I'm going to toss it over to my colleagues. I'm going to start it off with good old MF Michael Fletcher. MF, you had the unfortunate responsibility of sharing this devastating news with us earlier this evening. And we've lost MF for a moment. We'll await his return. I'm sure he probably hit a wrong button or something, but I'm sure we'll get MF back momentarily. But close to home doesn't begin to describe it. So, all right, we got MF back. So, all right, MF. We've had a lot of close to home. We've had to report a lot of close to home deaths over our shows, whether it was this sports show or the wrestling show. But this is as close to home as it gets. A man who served as an inspiration to you, to me, to Bullock, and so many others, men and women who've wanted to pursue careers in this wonderful genre known as sports broadcasting. And an inspiration to us all, a man's man, a consummate professional. The love has poured out all over social media from so many in this great field. And MF, you had the unfortunate responsibility of sharing this sad news with us today. And Greg Gumbel, 78 years old, gone from cancer. It's all yours, babe.
Yeah. It hit all of us. Around 5:30 was when the initial reports started to flutter in, and whenever you hear the first reports, you're like, okay, wait a minute, hold, let's not jump the gun. I want to hear some more information. I need to see something more credible, more legitimate. And then Yahoo Sports coming out, then ESPN came out, then CBS. Um, Anthony, you eloquently put their statement out in front of the world, what they had mentioned, and for it was really the CBS one was kind of the finality, because he did work for CBS. As many of you guys know, he was a member of the CBS family, um, either through the NCAA tournament or through the NFL. And so, if there was ever a network that probably would have been the driving force to make that announcement, would have been CBS. So when they came out, that was it. It was already game over. Even though every other organization came out, it started flooding pretty fast. So it was that I read it around 5:30 ish. I wanted it to hold a little bit because I wanted it to get more information. But then basically all the major networks, the most important news outlets when it pertains to sports were all coming out, and it all came out in like about a 10-minute drive. At that point, it was easy. It was easy to verify. It was easy to confirm. Um, I sent it. I sent that article. I sent the news out to the boys relatively quickly. Um, once the flurry of action of all the sports networks were coming out, in midst of that flurry of action was really when I was like, you know what? Okay, it's good enough for me to tell the boys, hey, listen, um, Greg Gumbel's passed away, and I'm getting it from multiple reports. So, it's not take it with a pinch of salt. I got sources. They're all confirmed. Like all the major networks are confirming this. ESPN came out. Fox Sports came out with it. Um, CNN came out with it. NBC Sports. You name it. Any network that you knew in the United States, they all were coming out with the announcement that he passed away. Not only that, but even the NFL came out and said something about it too. So for them to come out with something like that, you knew it was pretty big. So yeah, the accolades are very well known. What he was to all of us in broadcasting is a true inspiration. And for him to do Super Bowls, for him to be the voice of the NFL on CBS for a number of years, if you remember, um, prior to, um, there were certain games. He always had the marquee games with Phil Simms. He was the A crew for a number of years, and yeah, he was a part of Super Bowl 35, Super Bowl 38. Were both his um, great moments, and yeah, then he transitioned into being the lead for the NFL today, and did an incredible job. But the one thing that he was more than anybody else was really the voice of the March Madness, being the narrator for March Madness, especially the Selection Sunday. That was really where he thrived. This was really where he was. You could say he was like Santa Claus. I know a lot of people are going to be like, "What do you mean by that?" Because he was always bringing that good news to those 68 teams, letting them know that you were going to be a part of the tournament. You always wanted uh, Greg Gumbel to be the one to say your school's name. Be up that you guys were going to be a part of the NCAA tournament. That was always the excitement for all the youngsters out there who was hoping and dreaming. Some teams already knew they were going to be in it, but there was those teams that were hanging by the balance that you wanted to hear Greg Gumbel's voice say that you were in the tournament, you were in the dance. And for many of those teams, it was the greatest thrill of your life to hear his name say, like the University of Vermont, or uh, the Friars of the University of Providence. Those were the moments you dreamt about, and you were like, "Oh my goodness!" So yeah, um, he will be missed. March Madness was not the same without him last year. God, what is it gonna be like this upcoming March to know that he will no longer be around, man? It's just it's tough. It's tough. Um there's really nothing more to add. Michael Bullock, it is yours.
like you said, this is a tough loss here for everyone because of what Greg Gumbel meant to everyone. I mean, like you said, the two things I always remember, of course, like you said, like the divisional playoff matchup between the Patriots and the Raiders, the Tuck Rule, the snow game, and of course the Super Bowl 38 when he called the Patriots' second Super Bowl championship, and so much so that even the New England Patriots even came out with a statement uh, tonight as well, of course, about the passing of Greg Gumbel. And this is what they said. The New England Patriots are deeply saddened to learn of the passing of legendary broadcaster Greg Gumbel. Gumbel's voice is associated with some of the most iconic moments in sports, including the Patriots' 2001 divisional playoff victory in the snow and the Super Bowl 38 championship. Our hearts go out to Greg's family, friends, and colleagues. So, yeah. And like you said, Greg Gumbel's worked with a lot of guys on commentary like Phil Simms or Dan Deerdorf or Trent Green or Adam Archuleta. And yeah, and of course he hosted the NFL Today, and of course also like you said also did some work of course on NBC of course with the NBA and of course one game I remember he called was when Larry Bird returned to what was then the Fleet Center as the head coach of the Indiana Pacers against the Celtics. But yeah, all those calls like you said that he had, and yeah, and of course you got to think of March Madness, and the moment they said that he wasn't going to be part of it this year, I felt that something was wrong, and unfortunately this is what happened. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like on Sunday on the NFL Today. They're going to talk a lot about the loss of their colleague, their friend, their brother, Greg Gumbel. We'll probably get some stories from the crew, maybe Jim Nantz, and even with a couple of the guys that he worked with in Trent Green and Adam Archuleta. So that's going to be an emotional day there. So thoughts, prayers, and oh wait a minute, and one more, and you're not. Let's not forget another classic game he did in the NFL, of course. The 2012 divisional playoffs, guys, the Baltimore Ravens and the Denver Broncos.
Yes.
That was one of the greatest divisional playoff matchups that I've ever seen. Of course, one that went to double overtime. So yeah, that was another one too. I completely forgot. I completely remembered that. So yeah, thoughts, prayers, and condolences to to Greg Gumbel's family, his friends, his colleagues that worked with him. So rest easy, my friend. So with that being said, Florio, let's get on to what he enjoyed doing when it came to broadcasting, and that is the NFL.
And this show here tonight, needless for me to say, even though I think we all know where I'm going with this.
This one's for you, Greg.
Yes, this show here tonight will be dedicated to the memory of Greg Gumbel. And well, let's dive on in. Of course, we're already 3 games into week 17. Week 17 actually started this past Wednesday on Christmas Day. And it was our top 2 games of the week. In what was our game of the week for, our number 1 game of the week, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers at Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. The Kansas City Chiefs defeating the Pittsburgh Steelers by a final score of 29-10. And with that win, the Kansas City Chiefs clinched the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. The road to Super Bowl 59 will run through Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. In the second game, the Baltimore Ravens absolutely decimated and smashed the Houston Texans 31-2. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. 31-2. The Baltimore Ravens put a whooping on the Houston Texans. And then last night, the final Thursday night football game of this season. And oh boy, Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit had to sit through an absolute dud of a game where the Seattle Seahawks defeated the Chicago Bears by a score of 6-3. 6-3. That's it. A game that good old MF Michael Fletcher undoubtedly was very proud of, because we all know how much MF loves his defensive battles. So, of course, the developments that came out of this, of course, the biggest development, Kansas City, the number 1 seed in the AFC. Baltimore now taking control of the AFC North. They now control their own destiny when it comes to the AFC North. And then from there, Seattle with a small glimmer of hope when it comes to the NFC West. And we'll address that elephant in the room in just a little bit. So with that being said, let's we will now get into the Sunday portion of our schedule. 9 Sunday games and a Monday night game. But before we get into that,
3?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We got 3 Saturday games. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still overcome by Greg Gumbel, obviously. So, but yes, 13 games in total. We have an NFL Network triple header tomorrow. 9 more games on Sunday, and then Monday Night Football to close out Week 17. And with all that being said, let's dive on into our first game of the NFL Network triple header. It'll start at 1 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. And this game comes in as our number 6 game of the week. Number 6 game for us, as it will feature the Los Angeles Chargers squaring off against the New England Patriots from Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, on the NFL Network. And an interesting announcer team for this matchup, as it will be Chris Rose, Ross Tucker, and Steve Weish. They will be on the call for this matchup, and the spread favors the Chargers. Chargers opening up as a 5.5-point favorite. New England leads the regular season series 24-15 with 2 ties. And the last meeting was last year. They met in New England last year, and the Chargers defeated New England in what was another dud of a game by a score of 6-0. 6-0. The Chargers defeated New England in Foxborough. That win last year was the Chargers' first in New England since 2005, and also snapped a 7-game losing streak to the Patriots, including playoffs. So the Patriots last beat the Chargers at home in the AFC divisional playoff January of 2019, and regular season wise it was 2017. So with all that being said, because of all the time we spent on paying our respects to Greg Gumbel, what we're going to do in an effort to speed things up, we'll only go into detail for certain games, certain big games. So started off with this matchup here. The Patriots defense could make it difficult for the Chargers to punch their ticket to the playoffs. Quarterback Justin Herbert ranks 29th of 33 qualifying quarterbacks in QBR at 46.8 against man coverage this season. The Patriots defense uses man coverage at the 7th highest rate in the NFL at 51.8%. If Herbert does find success against New England and throws for 153 or more passing yards, he will pass Hall of Famer Peyton Manning for the most passing yards in a quarterback's first 5 seasons in NFL history at 20,618. Patriots coach Gerard Mayo says the Patriots have had conversations about the role of playoff spoiler against the Chargers. He said it just goes back to whoever is playing the best that day. What you did last week or the week before really doesn't matter. And that's the beauty about this game, he said. One potential concern for New England is at center, where starter Ben Brown is in concussion protocol. That could open the door for Cole Strange to make his first start at the position after opening his career at left guard. With a loss, the Patriots will clinch a sub-300 win percentage in consecutive seasons for the first time in franchise history. The Chargers can punch their ticket to the playoffs with a win over the Patriots. They can also make the playoffs if the Colts and Dolphins both lose to the Giants and the Browns, respectively. The FPI gives the Chargers a 61% chance of winning this game. 61% sounds good to me. I'm going with the Los Angeles Chargers to win this game as well. My final score is going to be 30-17. The Los Angeles Chargers defeat the New England Patriots and punch their ticket to the AFC playoffs. So give me the Chargers in that one. So MF, our number 6 game of the week, the Chargers and the Patriots at Gillette. Chargers win, they're in, but not so fast. Look what New England almost did in Buffalo last week.
Yeah, they did. They jumped out on Buffalo early, got them to an early lead, but then Buffalo was able to answer back. Look, I gotta say is that I think it will be one of those games. Plus, on top of that, the weather's not going to be pretty for this game tomorrow. They're talking about a lot of wind and maybe rain in the forecast at Gillette. If that's the thing, that means it's a mud bowl. And we already saw one mud bowl in Chicago and how that played out. So you got to really rely on the run game. I kind of feel like the Chargers have a little bit of an advantage, but I will say this: if there's one thing, that could be the saving grace for the Patriots because Ramondre Stevenson is a pretty good running back. So if it turns into a run game, who knows? This could be upset city, but I still gotta believe it's gonna be the Chargers to win. So Bullock, it's yours.
Bullock, are you there? All right. I don't know if he stepped away for a moment, but yeah. Okay, Bullock's in. All right, and Bullock, like I told you before last week, what your Patriots did against Buffalo, you guys have nothing to be ashamed of. You guys played one hell of a game, and I wouldn't be surprised if you give the Chargers
it was the turnovers. The turnovers killed us.
Yeah.
And when you turn the ball over against a team like the Bills, there's no chance you're going to win it. And unfortunately, that was the case. And now you're facing a Chargers team that all they got to do is win, and they're in. So, and I think that's what's going to happen here. So, unfortunately, I'm going to go with the Chargers to win this one as well. So, let's move on to the next Saturday game.
This one will kick off at 4:30 p.m. also on the NFL Network. This is our number 3 game of the week. Playoff implications in this one. The Denver Broncos squaring off against the Cincinnati Bengals from Paycor Stadium, formerly Paul Brown Stadium in Cincinnati. And on the call for this game, I do believe it's MF's boy. It's his boy, Kevin Harlan. It will be Kevin Harlan alongside of Trent Green and Melanie Collins. Just want to double check and confirm that. Bear with me for a moment. Yes, Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins. They will be on the call for Denver and Cincinnati. The spread favors Cincinnati. Cincinnati opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. Denver, however, leads the all-time series 22-11. Their last meeting was 2021 in Denver. Cincinnati won that game 15-10. Last meeting in Cincinnati was 2018. Denver won that one 24-10. The Bengals' last home win against Denver was in 2014. They won that game 37-28. So, MF, our number 3 game of the week. Playoff implications, obviously, here.
If Denver wins, they're in the playoffs. They lock out basically Miami and Indianapolis are out. If Cincinnati wins, there's a shot for them to get into the playoffs, but they would need a lot of help. They would need Indy to lose at some point. They would need Miami to lose a game, and Denver would have to lose another game along the way in order for Cincinnati to get into the playoffs. So, honestly, this is the toughest game. If you're Denver, you want this game because the next game out, the final game of the season, just none other than the Kansas City Chiefs. Nah, you want to win this game. You want to end it now, end the drama, not worry about putting your life on the line in week 18 with Kansas City. I think Denver's going to respond. I think they're going to get the job done. The Broncos are going to win, and they're going to the playoffs. Bullock, it's yours.
But don't you think, MF, that Denver, when it comes to Kansas City, now that they have everything locked up, there's a chance of them resting guys?
Yeah, in a sense, I get that, but do you honestly think that Kansas City is going to let a divisional foe get into the playoffs? In that hindsight?
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Because remember, this was the same thing that happened a couple of years ago where basically, I think it was Miami and Buffalo. And I think it was something like that. And Buffalo didn't give Miami a free ride to try to get into the playoffs. So, no, I disagree with that, Florio. I kind of feel like if you're Kansas City, you're giving a chance to possibly put Denver out. I don't think they're going to hesitate and put them out.
But that's all up to Andy Reid to see what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, but you also got to think about the health of Patrick Mahomes too. Because,
I think Mahomes will play very little, but some of the other guys, good luck. Because remember, you also got the advantage of the bye week as well. That's the key. You got the advantage for the bye week.
Well, I still think we're going to see some of the starters, but I don't think it's going to be too long. It's because you want to really rest some of these guys going in. I mean, yes, you still want to keep your rivals out of the playoffs, but you also got to think about the long term because you want to Kansas City has a chance to do something that hasn't been done in a long time, and that's three-peat.
Actually, never in the Super Bowl era.
So they got a chance to be a first. So they got a chance to make some history and go for a three-peat. Yeah. So you want to have your top-tier guys not only available for the playoff run, but most importantly, healthy. You want them healthy going in. Because
the one thing
all it takes is one injury, and it could really F up your chances.
Yeah, no. Look at Detroit. Everybody talks about Detroit and the Aiden Hutchinson injury. Even though Detroit's been cruising along and they're doing really good, the injuries are starting to pile. Now Philly has problems. Hurts is we'll get into Philly in a little bit, and we'll get into Detroit a little bit too, because there's some injury concerns that starting to creep up.
Yeah, and getting back to this, yeah, I mean, Denver. I mean, they have a chance to obviously make the playoffs, but for Cincinnati, they need to win out and have a certain number of things go their way if they want to get in. But I got Denver winning this one. It's it's going to be close, but I think I think they'll pull away in the end. So Denver wins. It's yours, Florio.
I don't know. I really don't know. All right, just bear with me for a moment here. Okay. Like I said, certain games we were going to go into a little more detail than others, but this is one of those games right here. This looks like a solid matchup with both teams battling for playoff contention. The 9-6 Broncos, currently 7th in the AFC, can clinch a playoff spot with a win, while the 7-8 Bengals need help. But the Bengals are 3.5-point favorites here, and they certainly can put on an offensive show with quarterback Joe Burrow leading the league with 4,229 passing yards, 39 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions, and a 69% completion mark. The Cincinnati defense has struggled overall this year, allowing 360 yards and 26 points a game, which is both fifth worst in the league. However, defensive end Trey Hendrickson leads the league with 13.5 sacks, and he may put some pressure on Denver rookie quarterback Bo Nix. Nix has thrown for 3,235 yards, 22 touchdowns, with 11 interceptions and a 64% completion mark. The Broncos certainly hope cornerback Riley Moss can be back in the lineup for this one. He was a full participant in practice this week. In the 3 games since Moss sprained an MCL on November 24 against the Vegas Raiders, Denver surrendered 30 points or more in 2 games and gave up 2 of their 3 highest yardage totals of the season. Moss has been the best option for the Broncos in the high traffic position that is opposite of Pat Surtain II. Against a Bengal team that has thrown the ball 226 more times than it has run it, the Broncos will need every option in pass defense to clinch a playoff spot. Jamar Chase versus Pat Surtain II. It doesn't get better than this. Chase is vying to become the 5th player since the NFL-AFL merger in 1970 to win the receiving triple crown, when a player leads the league in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. Surtain leads all cornerbacks in expected points added when targeted as the nearest defender, negative 25.8 per NFL Next Gen stats. It will be a battle of the best against the best. The Bengals are 0-7 against teams with winning records this season, which is tied with the Jacksonville Jaguars and New England Patriots for the most losses without a win. Strangely, the Bengals have averaged 30.3 points a game in those losses. The Broncos can clinch a playoff spot with a win, which would be their first since the 2015 season when they won Super Bowl 50. On the other end, the Bengals can keep their slim postseason hopes alive, 7% chance per ESPN Analytics with a win. Cincinnati, however, would be eliminated with a loss. I'm sorry, guys. I disagree. The FPI is giving Cincinnati a 57% chance of winning this game. And I am actually going to take a chance here. I'm going to make a bold prediction, and I am going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game. My final score is going to be 31-23. The Cincinnati Bengals defeat the Denver Broncos and creates chaos in the AFC playoff picture. But would I be surprised if Denver stole this one? No, certainly not. But especially with this game being in Cincinnati, I got to give a slight edge to Cincinnati on that one. So with that being said, we move on to the final game of the Saturday triple header. Tomorrow night, a kickoff time of 8:10 p.m. on the NFL Network. It will feature the Arizona Cardinals squaring off against the Los Angeles Rams, SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. And on the call for this game, it'll be Rich Eisen, Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, and Jamie Erdahl. And the Rams opening up as a 6.5-point favorite. They met earlier this season, all the way back in week number 2, in Arizona, and Arizona smashed the Rams 41-10. So the Cardinals cut into the Rams series lead, which now stands regular season wise 48-41 with 2 ties. Last year in Los Angeles, the Rams beat the Cardinals 26-9. Arizona's last win in LA was the year before, 2022. Final score there was 27-17. Michael Bullock, we started off with you. Cardinals and Rams to wrap up the Saturday triple header on NFL Network. A Ram win puts them a step closer to winning the NFC West. Cardinals looking to play spoiler.
Yeah, the Cardinals definitely looking to play the role of spoiler. I mean, and as I've always said, a team that's dangerous is a team that's literally got nothing to lose, and that's what the Cardinals have. They got nothing to lose here. I mean, they're already out of the playoff picture. Now they have a chance to be playing the role of spoiler. But when it comes to the Rams, they could be a step closer to winning that NFC West. So Sean McVay's got this team playing well. I mean, especially with Matthew Stafford playing at his absolute best. So I'm gonna go with the LA Rams to win this one and take one step closer to being NFC West champs. It's yours, Florio.
All right. Even though the Cardinals were eliminated from playoff contention last Sunday, quarterback Kyler Murray still has something to prove. He has struggled since Arizona's bye in Week 11 with a touchdown to interception ratio of 4-6 in the last 5 games, in which the Cardinals have gone 1-4. Before the bye, however, Murray threw 12 touchdowns versus 3 interceptions. He still has 2 games left to improve and at the least even out his ratio. Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford did not have a passing touchdown in Week 2 against the Cardinals. That was one of 5 games this season in which he did not throw a touchdown, the most in a single season in his career, according to ESPN research. He has thrown just 1 touchdown pass in the last 2 weeks, despite the Rams being on a 4-game winning streak. Since losing to Arizona, Los Angeles has not lost a divisional game. Cardinal tight end Trey McBride has 92 catches and 0 receiving touchdowns. If this continues, it will be the most receptions without a touchdown in a season. The previous record was 86 by Deontay Johnson in 2022. The Rams are looking to become the first team to make the playoffs in back-to-back seasons after finding themselves 3 games under 500. They need to win tomorrow night and clinch strength of victory over Seattle to secure a playoff berth. FPI only 55% in favor of the Rams, but I am still going with the Los Angeles Rams to win this game. My final score, I'm going to say 34-21. The Los Angeles Rams defeat the Arizona Cardinals tomorrow night. So not much more to say. MF, your thoughts? Cardinals and Rams? What says you?
I feel comfortable enough to say the Rams are going to win this game as well. I feel like you said, I kind of feel like the Cardinals are really hit the skids lately, and I feel like the Rams are on the rise and they're really gaining some speed right now. So, give me the Rams to win this one, Anthony. It's yours.
All right. And with that being said, we now move on to the Sunday portion of the NFL schedule. Only 9 games overall. And we started off with the game that will go down at 1 p.m. over on CBS. And this game comes in as our number 4 game of the week. AFC East divisional matchup. The New York Jets squaring off against my team, the Buffalo Bills. Highmark Stadium, Orchard Park, New York. The final home game of the regular season for the Buffalo Bills. And on the call for this game, believe it or not, hello friends, Jim Nance, Tony Romo, and Tracy Wolfson. Buffalo opening up as a 10-point favorite. They met earlier this season on a Monday night in MetLife, and Buffalo won that game by a score of 23-20. So Buffalo adds to their regular season series lead against the Jets. It's now 69-58 in favor of Buffalo. Last year in Buffalo, the Bills absolutely smashed the Jets last year, 32-6. And that's when Buffalo made that insane comeback. And that was right after they fired Ken Dorsey and they brought in Joe Brady, as you all know, and we know the rest of the story from there. Bills have won 4 straight at home against the Jets. The Jets have not won in Buffalo since 2019. 13-6 was the final in that one. So it's only fitting that I start this off. And so let's dive on into this to kick off the Sunday slate here. I went a little too far. All right. It seems somewhat odd to see CBS's top booth on a game featuring a 4-11 team, but they only have 4 games overall this week due to all the national games over the holidays. So, and this one's going to most of the country. Also, the Jets and Aaron Rodgers still get plenty of attention despite their record and despite being 10-point road underdogs here. And of course, Buffalo no longer in the running for that number 1 seed, obviously. For Buffalo, quarterback Josh Allen remains a key figure and betting odds favorite in the MVP race, throwing for 3,549 yards, 26 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions, and a completion percentage of about 64. 514 rushing yards to go with 11 touchdowns, averaging 5.3 yards a carry. And on the other side of the field, receiver Garrett Wilson leads the Jets with 987 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. All right. There's nothing on the line for the Jets except some individual milestones. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers needs 1 touchdown pass to become the 5th player in NFL history to reach 500. Wide receiver Garrett Wilson needs 13 receiving yards to hit 1,000 for the 3rd straight season, something no Jet receiver has done since George Sauer from 1966 to 1968. And Devontae Adams needs 72 receiving yards to reach 1,000 for the 4th straight season and the 6th time in the last 7 seasons. While Josh Allen had success against the Jets earlier this season, it is a team that has given him trouble in the past. He has thrown 14 touchdowns to 11 interceptions in 12 games, but he has beaten them in 8 of those meetings. A win over the Jets would boost Allen's resume for his first MVP award after Lamar Jackson's strong outing against Houston on Christmas. The Bills are 23-5 in division games since 2020. Second best record in that span. Only Kansas City at 24-5 is better. The Jets are 5-23 in division games since 2020. And that is the worst divisional record in that span. The Bills are no longer in the running for the number 1 seed in the AFC after the Chiefs win over Pittsburgh on Christmas. But Buffalo can lock up the number 2 seed with a win over the Jets on Sunday. And a very strong FPI for Buffalo, 72% going with the Buffalo Bills. And of course, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills to win this game as well. My final score, I am going to go 34-23. The Buffalo Bills defeat the New York Jets, wrap up that number 2 seed yet again. And that number 2 seed, just as valuable as that 1 seed is. Don't get me wrong. So, but I'm going with the Bills here, of course. 34-23, that's my final. So, MF, Jets and Buffalo are number 4 game of the week. Buffalo with a win. They get the 2 seed yet again.
Yeah, and it's pretty safe to say that they'll get it. It's just that the Jets are just a complete mess. Yes, Buffalo could, if Buffalo really wanted to, they could take the week off. They could be like, you know what? We could take it easy. We don't have to worry about this game. But I kind of feel like, especially for Josh Allen, if he wants to win the MVP, Lamar just blew the doors off on Christmas Day. And now all of a sudden people are thinking, maybe Lamar deserves the MVP more than Josh Allen. Allen's got to respond. He's got to win this game. So it's a now or never type thing for him. So we'll see, but it's gonna be fun. Yeah, Buffalo wins. Bullet go.
Yeah, I expect the Buffalo Bills to handle their business with the Jets and basically lock up the number 2 seed in the AFC. So uh, Buffalo wins. So let's move on to the next game.
And unfortunately, we have to move on to, well, the Zonk game of the week on our side of the ledger. The Tennessee Titans squaring off against the Jacksonville Jaguars from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, and Aditi Kinkabuela will have the call for that game. And they met just a few weeks ago. They actually met 3 weeks ago on Bullock's birthday, and in Tennessee, and Jacksonville won that game by a score of 10-6. So 10-6 was the final in that one. So adding to the series history between these two, and Jacksonville cut into it. It's now 34-25 in favor of Tennessee. Last year in Jacksonville smashed Tennessee 34-14. Jacksonville has won the last 2 meetings at home against Tennessee. Tennessee's last win in Jacksonville was in 2021. They smashed Jacksonville 37-19. So, MF, I'm sorry to do it to you, but our Zonk game of the week, Tennessee and Jacksonville, your thoughts?
Yeah, but if you remember in that game, they had Trevor Lawrence, if I remember correctly. They don't have him this time around. And I'm sorry, but I'm not really sold on their backup quarterback, who is, oh, by the way, Mac Jones. Yeah. Nope. Sorry. Tennessee wins. Bullet go.
Yeah, I'm going with Tennessee as well. Not going to waste too much time on it, so it's yours for you.
Yeah, I can understand why. The Titans scored touchdowns on all 7 of their red zone visits over the last 2 weeks. Offensive coordinator Nick Holtz said the improvement came mostly from a more effective run game inside the 20-yard line and fewer penalties. Tennessee's streak of consecutive touchdowns inside the red zone started after going 0 for 2 against the Jaguars in Week 14. Jaguars rookie wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. has already set franchise rookie records in yards, 1,088, catches, 73, and receiving touchdowns with 9. His next touchdown catch will make him one of only 5 players in franchise history with double-digit touchdown catches in a season. The only Jacksonville player with more than 10 touchdown catches in a season was Allen Robinson, who had 14 in 2015. The Jaguars have a takeaway in 5 straight games, which is tied for the longest such streak in franchise history, but their 8 total takeaways this season is the fewest in the NFL. No other team is below 10. The Jaguars and Titans both have slim chances at the number 1 pick, with odds of 10.1% and 5.2% respectively per ESPN Analytics, but they are guaranteed a spot in the top 10, and Jacksonville has an 85% chance of picking in the top 5. Tennessee does have the FPI edge here, 59% going with the Tennessee Titans, but the thing is, Jacksonville beat Tennessee a few weeks ago, and what was a very dud game, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get another dud game here. But I think Jacksonville can do it again, especially with the game being in Jacksonville. So I'm actually going to go with Jacksonville to win this game. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So 17-14, Jacksonville defeats Tennessee. So that's the Zonk game of the week. So let's now move on to our next matchup, and another matchup here, as we will have the Las Vegas Raiders squaring off against the New Orleans Saints from the home of Super Bowl 59, the Caesar Superdome in New Orleans. Adam Amin, Mark Sanchez, and Christina Pink will be on the call for that one. Vegas opening up as a 1-point favorite, and the series history between these two. is actually tied 7-7 with one tie. The one tie was in their very first meeting in 1971, a 21-all tie in New Orleans. They met 2 years ago in New Orleans. Saints smashed the Raiders 24-0. The Raiders' last win in New Orleans was in 2016 in a wild 35-34 shootout. So I believe Michael Bullock starts this one off. So Bullock, the Las Vegas Raiders and the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, both teams don't have much to play for. So yeah, it's only a 1-point favorite here. So I'm going to go with. I'm actually going to go with the Saints here. So there's really nothing more for me to say. I mean, it's like I don't know who's going to start at quarterback for the Raiders. I mean, I just don't trust whoever it is they're starting. So I'm going with the Saints here.
All right. Derek Carr spent 9 seasons as the Raiders' starting quarterback, but never had a rookie quite like tight end Brock Bowers, who needs just 10 receiving yards to eclipse Mike Ditka's 1961 single-season receiving yardage record for a rookie tight end. That record is 1,076 yards. Bowers already owns the single-season rookie tight end catch record with 101 catches, and with 4 catches in New Orleans, would surpass the Rams' Puka Nakua's single-season rookie receptions mark that he set a year ago. Saints interim coach Darren Rizzi continues to say that running back Alvin Kamara and Derek Carr are week to week with their respective injuries. Alvin Kamara with a groin, and Derek Carr, who has a fractured non-throwing hand, has not practiced in several weeks, but would be facing his old team if he played on Sunday. The Saints, who were shut out last week, are looking to avoid being held under 10 points in back-to-back games for just the second time since the year 2000. Spencer Rattler has 3 straight starts with fewer than 175 passing yards. Another such game would make him the first Saints quarterback to reach that mark in 4 straight games since Steve Walsh in 1990. The Raiders have a 1.3% chance to receive the number 1 pick in the 2025 draft per ESPN Analytics after holding 14% odds prior to their Week 16 win. A loss would improve their chances to 3%, while a win would give them less than a 0.1% chance. Vegas has the FPI spread here. The FPI gives it to Vegas, 57% going with Vegas. Damn, this is a tough one to call. And it's Aiden O'Connell, who's the who will be the Raider quarterback here. So I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to go with the Saints to win this one. But if Vegas were to win, I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm taking a chance on New Orleans here, 20-14. Give me New Orleans over Vegas. So, MF, your thoughts?
Oh boy, this could go either way. Like, truthfully, honestly, this could go either way. I feel comfortable enough to say Vegas as well, but I would not be surprised if New Orleans wins this. So there's not really a clear cut pick here. So I'll just leave it at that. Anthony, back to you.
All right. I did forget to mention when it comes to that Tennessee Jacksonville game, Jacksonville opening up as a 1-point favorite, a 1-point spread for Jacksonville. The last one was Vegas by 1. So moving on to our next matchup, as they will feature the Indianapolis Colts squaring off against the New York Giants, MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey in the Meadowlands. This game over on Fox. Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and Megan O'Leary. They will be on the call for that one. Indianapolis opening up as a 7.5-point favorite in this one. Colts lead the regular season series 10-7. The last meeting was 2 years ago, also in New York. The Giants smashed the Colts 38-10, snapping a 4-game losing streak to Indy. Indy's last win in New York was in 2014. The Colts smashed the Giants in that one 40-24. So let's get into this matchup here. Just bear with me for a moment here. All right. Okay, went a little over, but I got it. Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson is coming off a career-high 70 rushing yards in last week's win over the Titans, a continuation of the team's recent increased commitment in his running ability. Richardson's rushing frequency has picked up since he returned to the starting lineup in Week 11, going from averaging 6.83 rushes a game before his benching to 9 since returning. Importantly, Richardson's runs of late are not scrambles, but typically designed runs. He has had 4 games with 7 or more such runs in his last 5 starts. The Giants will try to end a franchise record 10-game losing streak with Drew Lock in again at quarterback. Coach Brian Daboll thinks the continuity with Lock could help, as they are also trying to avoid becoming the first team in NFL history to finish a season 0-9 at home. Rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors said he wants to reward the fans who have come out to support them this season with a win. This is their last chance. The Colts set a franchise record with 335 rushing yards against the Titans last week, which is also the most by any team in a single game this season. The Giants have the second worst rushing defense, allowing almost 143 yards a game on the ground. The Colts could be eliminated from playoff contention before they even play on Sunday if the Chargers and Broncos both win on Saturday or tomorrow. If that does not happen, Indianapolis would still be eliminated with a loss. 68% FPI for the Colts, and I'm going with the Colts to win this game as well. I'm gonna go 23-17. Indianapolis defeats the Giants. So not much more to say. MF, your thoughts on Colts and Giants?
I'm with Indianapolis. I think Indy's going to win this game. There's not much to say there, so Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Indianapolis to win this one as well. So there's really not much to say, so let's move on to our next game.
2 early games left, and up next, it's an NFC East divisional matchup, and it will feature the Dallas Cowboys squaring off against the Philadelphia Eagles, Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. And this one will be on Fox, and it'll be Joe Davis, Greg Olson, and Pam Oliver on the call. And the spread, Philadelphia opening up as a 7.5-point favorite. These two teams met already this season. They met back on November the 10th, and it was in Dallas, and Philadelphia smashed Dallas in that one, 34-6. And Philadelphia cut into Dallas's regular season series lead. It's now 71-56 in favor of Dallas. Last year in Philadelphia won 28-23. Eagles have won the last 2 meetings against Dallas at home. Dallas's last win in Philadelphia was in 2021, and they smashed Philly in that one, 51-26 in that one. So not much more to say here. MF, I believe we start with you on this one. It's very simple. Philly wins. They win the NFC East yet again.
Yeah, they would win the NFC East, but the problem is now there's no Jalen Hurts. Hurts is out, injured, concussion.
Right. Kenny Pickett, yes.
Kenny Pickett's the starter now. That might open the door for Dallas to pull the upset. You don't know. I feel like Philly will figure it out and get the job done. I was a lot more confident going in. If Jalen Hurts would have been the starter, I'm a little nervous about this one now. I'm saying Philly's going to win, but I'm not as going in. I would have been a lot more confident if Jalen Hurts was the starter. Now, not so much. Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how Kenny Pickett does as the starter here. So, I mean, I still think it's going to be a very close game. Dallas will definitely make a game out of it, but somehow, some way, I think Philly will pull it out, and all because of Saquon Barkley. I think he'll have another huge game on the ground here, so give me Philly to win. So it's yours, Florio.
Cowboys quarterback Cooper Rush will be making the 14th start of his career and his third against the Eagles. The first two did not go well. In his first start replacing Dak Prescott this season, Rush threw for 45 yards on 13 of 23 passing in a 34-6 loss to Philadelphia. In 2022, he was intercepted 3 times in a 26-17 loss at Lincoln Financial Field, which was his first loss as a starting quarterback. In his last 2 starts, he has gotten the ball out quickly and has not been intercepted. If the Cowboys want to finish hot despite being eliminated from playoff contention, Rush has to stay away from mistakes. The Eagles are they're obviously dealing with uncertainty at quarterback. Jalen Hurts did not practice this week, and he is still in concussion protocol. Kenny Pickett injured his ribs while filling in for Hurts against Washington, but he has been able to practice and said Thursday he is ready to go against Dallas, and he said he will wear extra padding to protect his ribs. And since Hurts cannot go, 2023 sixth-round pick Tanner McKee would assume the role of number 2 quarterback behind Kenny Pickett. Cowboys linebacker Micah Parsons is a half sack away from being the 4th player to reach double-digit sacks in each of his first 4 seasons, since individual sacks were first tracked in 1982. The others are all Hall of Famers: Dwight Freeney, Derek Thomas, and Reggie White. Pretty damn good company there, guys. Very simple about what's at stake here. The Eagles can clinch the NFC East division with a win or a Commanders loss to the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday night. This would mark the 20th straight season the NFC East division has not had a repeat champion, which is the longest streak in NFL history. Overwhelming FPI for Philadelphia, 77% going with the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles by a smidge as well. 27-20. Philadelphia gets by Dallas. Saquon Barkley, I do believe, will be the difference. I 100% agree with you guys on that one. So 27-20, Philly wins, and Philly will win the NFC East once again. Final early game of this week on CBS. This game comes in as our number 5 game of the week. NFC South divisional matchup. The Carolina Panthers squaring off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. And on the call for CBS, it'll be Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, and Evan Washburn. They met at the start of this month. They met 4 weeks ago in Charlotte. Wild and crazy game, but Tampa Bay won that game by a score of 26-23 in overtime. We'll get to that series history in just a moment. Tampa Bay opening up as an 8-point favorite in this one. And with that Carolina win, or the Tampa Bay win, Tampa Bay cuts into Carolina's series history lead. Carolina now leads at 25-23. Last year in Tampa Bay won 21-18. Good news for Bucs fans. The Bucs have done pretty well against Carolina at home as of late. Carolina last beat Tampa Bay in 2019, but the thing is, that game was in London. But Tampa was the home team. The last time Carolina won in Tampa, you got to go back to 2017. That's the last time Carolina won in Tampa. Final score in that game was 17-3. So, I believe this one goes to Bullock. I believe it. I think MF had the last one. So
yes, it does.
Okay. All right, Bullock. Carolina and Tampa Bay in the NFC South. Carolina looking to play spoiler. Tampa Bay looking to keep their South Division hopes alive after that embarrassing loss in Dallas last Sunday night. Number 5 game of the week, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, last week was an embarrassing performance, an embarrassing loss there by the Bucs, and they're looking to bounce back and, as like you said, keep their NFC South hopes alive here. So I think they'll bounce back, and but don't be surprised if Carolina makes a game of it because they have been playing better lately, even though the win-loss record doesn't show. But who knows? They can definitely play the role of spoiler. But I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to win this one. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah. The Bucs had a season-high 236 rushing yards against the Panthers in a Week 13 win, but they still needed a fumble by Chuba Hubbard in overtime to win it. Quarterback Bryce Young completed 26 of 46 passes for 298 yards in that game. He enters this game off a 3-touchdown performance, 2 passing and 1 rushing, that made him one of the highest-rated quarterbacks in Week 16. The Bucs no longer control their own destiny in the NFC South after losing to the Cowboys last Sunday night. Revisiting fundamentals has been a huge point of emphasis. The Bucs' 12 lost turnovers since Week 12 is the third most in the NFL, and a lost fumble by Rashad White on the final drive against Dallas doomed them. Whereas a forced fumble by Anthony Nelson that was recovered by Yaya Diaby in Week 13 set up the overtime win at Carolina. Bucs quarterback Baker Mayfield leads the NFC with 34 passing touchdowns. He is looking to join Tom Brady, who had 40 in 2020 and 43 in 2021, as the only quarterbacks in franchise history with 35-plus passing touchdowns in a single season. Tampa Bay will be eliminated from playoff contention with a loss and a Falcons win against Washington. If that doesn't happen, there are multiple scenarios in which Tampa Bay can clinch a playoff spot in Week 18, dependent on results from Atlanta and Washington. Overwhelming FPI for Tampa Bay, 80% going with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it's going to be a close game, though. I think Tampa will eke it out. Final score, I'm going to go 30-24. Tampa Bay gets by Carolina. So not much more to say. MF, Carolina and Tampa Bay are number 5 game of the week. And Tampa, boy, do they need this one after they let that game against Dallas get away from them last Sunday night.
Yeah, they do indeed, no doubt about it. I think Tampa will get the game, will get it, no doubts. Nothing more to say. Florio, it's yours.
But this is, I know what I'm about to say here, guys, is gonna, I know, sound nutty here, but we only have 2 late games on Sunday, just 2. That's it. 1 on each network. A 4:05 game on CBS and a 4:25 game on Fox. We'll get to the 4:05 game here. This game is our number 7 game of the week on our side of the ledger. And it will feature good old MF Michael Fletcher's team, the Miami Dolphins, squaring off against the Cleveland Browns from Cleveland Browns Stadium in Cleveland. Andrew Catalan, Tiki Barber, Jason McCourty, and AJ Ross. They will be on the call for that one. Miami opening up as a 6.5-point favorite in that one. And regular season series history favors the Miami Dolphins, but it's only 10-9. Their last meeting was 2 years ago in Miami. Miami smashed Cleveland in that one, 39-17. The last meeting in Cleveland actually won that game, 41-24. The Dolphins' last win in Cleveland was back in 2013. Final score there was 23-10. So now we get to the first of all our only 2 late games here. That's nutty, but it is what it is. But here we go. The Dolphins' run game was resurgent in Week 16, with them rushing for 166 yards, their first time cracking 100 yards since Week 9. Perhaps uncoincidentally, last week's game marked the return of offensive guard Isaiah Wynn, who played 34 offensive snaps against the 49ers. Wynn is expected to continue to either mix in or dominate snaps at right guard against a Brown defense that has allowed at least 100 rushing yards in all but 2 games this season. In quarterback Tua Tagovailoa's first 2 seasons with coach Mike McDaniel, he posted the second highest raw QBR, 88.4, when facing cover 1. But that has changed in 2024. Tagovailoa has posted the third lowest QBR, 26.1, against the coverage. That could play into the hands of a Brown defense that uses the highest rate of cover 1 in the NFL. Browns wide receiver Jerry Jeudy had just 3 targets last week against the Bengals, which is tied for a season low. His 72 catches and 1,072 receiving yards on the season are already career highs. The Dolphins now have a 7.6% chance to make the playoffs per ESPN Analytics. They would be eliminated from postseason contention with a loss or wins by both the Chargers and Broncos tomorrow. A very slim FPI. Miami, a very small FPI here. Only 54% going with the Miami Dolphins to win this game. But I am going to go with the Miami Dolphins to win this game. I'm going to say final score is going to be 30-20. Miami wins in Cleveland on Sunday. And we'll see what that means for the playoff hopes at that particular point. So 30-20, Miami wins. So MF, your boys' playoff chances hanging by a thread here. But they go to Cleveland in our number 7 game of the week. 7.6% chance to make the playoffs. So your thoughts?
They would have to, again, Miami would have to win out. Basically, all they would have to do is they would have to win their game over. Basically, they got to win out and then hope that Denver trips up and that Indy has to lose one. So, I mean, the game against Cincinnati is going to really be very poignant more than anything else. I don't know why they're talking about the Chargers, because I don't think the Chargers will have any effect for Miami unless it's about conference record. Then that's a different story. But I don't understand about why they would say that Miami would be out if the Chargers wins. I don't know why that would have any effect. But because I've always been under the notion that for Miami to get in, they would have to just win out. Denver would have to lose both their games, and then Indianapolis will only have to lose one of the final 2. So that's what I've always heard. The thing about the Chargers is news to me. I had no idea why they said that. But at the end of the day, I do believe Miami is going to win. Like you said, they're playing for something here. Cleveland is not. I think Miami is going to win. So, Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go with Miami because they gotta, like you said, they gotta win out, and then for all these other things to happen if they have any shot of making the postseason. So give me the Miami Dolphins to win this one. So let's move on.
And we move on to the other late game. It's a 425er, but this is a big one here. America's game of the week on Fox. The Green Bay Packers squaring off against the Minnesota Vikings, US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. America's game of the week. You know who's working this. Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi. Minnesota opening up as a 1.5-point favorite. They met earlier this season at Lambeau, week 4. Minnesota won that game 31-29. So Minnesota cuts into Green Bay's series lead in the regular season. It's now 65-58 with 3 ties. Last year in Minnesota, Green Bay smashed Minnesota 33-10. Minnesota's last home win against Green Bay was 2022 when they knocked them down, when they smashed them 23-7. So, all right, MF, a huge game here in the NFC North with Green Bay and Minnesota. Minnesota looking to keep pace with Detroit and set up a huge matchup with Detroit at Ford Field next week. A game that could possibly be not only for the NFC North, but could also possibly be for the number 1 seed in the NFC. But a win against Green Bay will definitely help their cause. So,
yeah,
big game for both teams, major playoff implications in the NFC here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Green Bay is looking to be the spoiler. Detroit's hoping for that miracle there. If Detroit, if Green Bay some way somehow knocks off Minnesota, boy, does Detroit owe them something for this. I don't know. That's gonna be a tough call. Green Bay's been playing great lately. I don't think if there's one team you don't want to see, it's Green Bay right now. And plus at home at Lambeau. Ooh, I don't know, guys. That's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna say Green Bay, not overly confident, but I say Packers win. Bullock, it's yours.
Bullock, are you there?
Oh, what are we talking about?
Green Bay and Minnesota.
Yeah, this is a big game right here. I mean, from the NFC North side, I mean, the Packers are trying to catch up with the Vikings, while the Vikings try to move, try to try to take the division. So who knows what could happen here? I mean, this is a lot of history with these two franchises. So this could go either way, but I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings to win this one. So there's really nothing more to say except we only got 2 games left, Florio.
Well, I have to give my thoughts first. So,
Once we're done with you.
yes. This is a great matchup. Part of why it was flexed into this spot. The 13-2 Vikings are tied with the Detroit Lions, also 13-2, but Detroit has the head-to-head tiebreaker for the top spot in the NFC North. But their divisional rivals in Green Bay at 11-4 are looking to improve their own playoff positioning. The Packers clinched the playoff spot with a 34-0 smashing of the New Orleans Saints last Monday night, but now have to turn around and play an extremely tough team. But they're only 1.5-point road underdogs here. This could wind up being a defensive duel, with Minnesota and Green Bay 2nd and 6th in the league in points allowed per game. Minnesota at 18.4, Green Bay at 19.1. For the Vikings, watch for ball hawking corner Byron Murphy Jr., who leads the team with 6 picks and had 10 tackles in a win over Seattle last week. For the Packers, keep an eye on linebacker Quay Walker, who leads the team with 102 tackles and has 2.5 sacks and 9 tackles for loss. I went a little over. All right. Packers quarterback Jordan Love struggled against the blitz in the first 7 games of the season, which included the Packers' Week 4 loss to Minnesota, posting the 3rd worst QBR when blitzed during that span. In the 6 games since, he has a QBR of 97 against the blitz, which leads the NFL in that category. The Vikings have the highest blitz rate in the NFL at 38%. Vikings quarterback Sam Darnold is looking to become the first quarterback in NFL history to win 14 games in his first season with a new team. If that happens and the Vikings sweep the Packers for only the 4th time in the last 25 seasons, they will keep themselves on track for a huge Week 18 game at Detroit that would determine not only the NFC North, but also the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. After struggling through a spate of midseason turnovers, Darnold has thrown 15 touchdowns with only 1 interception over his last 6 games. The Packers are 1-3 in NFC North division games this season. A loss would clinch their 4th season under 500 in divisional matchups since 2002 and their 1st since 2018. Both teams are in the playoffs, but the Vikings can improve their chances at the NFC North title on Sunday. Their odds increase to 36% with a win and fall to 14% with a loss per ESPN Analytics. Minnesota can win the North either by winning out or by the Lions losing out. The FPI actually does favor Green Bay, believe it or not. 55% favoring Green Bay. But the thing is, I got to go with Minnesota in this one, guys. I'm going with Minnesota to win this one. My final score, 23-20. Minnesota defeats Green Bay. But would I be surprised if Green Bay stole one in Minnesota? Certainly not. So we'll see what happens. But that is going to be a fun game on Sunday. The prime timers now, Sunday Night Football on NBC, 8:20 p.m. And we got ourselves a very interesting sleeper type matchup here. It's going to be the Atlanta Falcons squaring off against the Washington Commanders from FedEx Field, or Northwest Stadium as it's known as, but formerly FedEx Field, Landover, Maryland. You know who's working this as always. Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark. and the spread favors Washington. Washington opening up as a 4-point favorite. Washington leads the regular season series 17-10 with a tie. The one tie was in 1967. They played to a 2020 tie in Atlanta, only their second meeting at the time. They met in Atlanta last year. Washington won that game 24-16. Last game in Washington was 2022. Washington also won that one 19-13. Washington has won 3 straight against the Falcons. The Falcons last beat Washington overall and in Washington back in 2018, and they smashed them 38-14. So I do believe Michael Bullock starts this one off. So Bullock, Atlanta, and Washington. Sleeper game of the week right here. Playoff implications for both teams in this one on Sunday night.
Yeah, this is a big one here with like you said, both teams fighting for playoff spots here, but Atlanta really need this more. I mean, with everything that's been going on, especially now with Bo Nix, with Michael Penix Jr. getting another start, so we'll see how he does on the bright lights of Sunday Night Football. But the Commanders, I mean, they're that close to getting a playoff spot, and so I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders to win this one and be one step closer to the playoffs. So it's yours, Florio.
Yeah. The 10-5 Commanders are currently in the 7th and last NFC playoff spot, but they can clinch it with a win. But the 8-7 Falcons have lots to play for also. They're tied with Tampa Bay atop the NFC South, but they hold the head-to-head tiebreaker. And they're only 4-point road underdogs here. For Washington, quarterback Jaden Daniels, likely the rookie of the year, has gotten a lot of attention for his arm, throwing for 3,303 yards and 22 touchdowns today with only 8 interceptions and a completion percentage of almost 70. But what he's done with his legs stands out too. He leads the team with 737 rushing yards with 6 touchdowns. For Atlanta, quarterback Michael Penix Jr. just got his first start of the season and NFL career in a win over the Giants. However, that saw him throw for 202 yards with no touchdowns, an interception, and a 67% completion mark. He has room to improve, and we'll see if he can get that started here. Falcons running back Bijan Robinson's impressive season has gone somewhat under the radar, and Atlanta will need a big game from him against the Commanders. Robinson has the 3rd most yards in the league running outside the tackles, 885 yards with 9 touchdowns, while Washington has allowed the 2nd most yards per carry at 5.7 on such runs. If Washington wants to win and secure its spot in the playoffs, it will want to get its running backs going. The Commanders have averaged 2.64 yards a carry the last 2 weeks and will face an Atlanta defense that ranks 9th in yards per carry allowed at 4.3. Michael Penix Jr. is seeking to become the first quarterback in Falcons history to win his first 2 career starts. He won against the Giants without a passing or rushing touchdown, and a quarterback has not done that in his first 2 career starts since the Miami Dolphins' Damon Huard in 1999. Both teams' chances at the postseason could be affected by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this weekend. The Falcons can clinch the NFC South Division title and their first playoff spot since 2017 with a win and a Tampa Bay loss to Carolina. The Commanders can secure their first playoff appearance since 2020 with a win or a Tampa Bay loss. The FPI gives it to Washington, 61% going with the Washington Commanders, and I'm going with the Washington Commanders to win this game as well. 27-23, Washington defeats Atlanta and goes to the postseason for the first time since 2020. So not much more to say here. MF, massive playoff implications for both teams. Atlanta, Washington, prime time Sunday Night Football. Wow, what a spot.
It's not every day that we talk about Washington and Atlanta getting the Sunday night spot, but yeah, they do. And like you said, it's a big game. Now we have a little bit of a change. Kirk Cousins not there. Now it's all about Michael Penix Jr., the starting quarterback for Atlanta. Did okay, but now you're going up against Jane Daniels, who I think we can honestly say maybe offensive rookie of the year. Maybe, possibly. I think so. So I mean, we got that. You're in Washington. I'm going to say Commanders win it. I think they get it. Look, the Commanders have been free falling a little bit. This is the moment where they ride the ship. Give me the Commanders to win. Bullet, go.
Well, Bullock already started it. He led off. So with that, gentlemen, we move on to our final game of the night, Monday Night Football, 8:15 kickoff on ABC and ESPN, of course. A rematch of last year's NFC Championship game. The Detroit Lions squaring off against the San Francisco 49ers from Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. You know who's working this as always. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salters. Detroit opening up as a 3.5-point favorite. San Francisco leads the all-time regular season series 38-27 with a tie. And that one tie came back in 1961. They played a 2020 tie in San Francisco. The last meeting, we all remember it, the NFC Championship game earlier this year. San Francisco with that remarkable comeback, winning that game 34-31. Their last regular season meeting was in Detroit in 2021. San Francisco won 41-33. Last meeting in San Francisco, 2018. San Francisco won 30-27. Last time Detroit beat San Francisco was back in 2015, 32-17 at Ford Field in Detroit. And here's an interesting stat for you guys. The Detroit Lions have not won in San Francisco since all the way back in 1975. That's the last time Detroit left San Francisco with a win. Final score on that one was 28-17. So with all that being said, let's dive on into our final game of the night. It's been a lost season for the 49ers, who have followed up a Super Bowl appearance with a 6-9 record to date, but they're still dangerous, and they're only 3.5-point home underdogs against a 13-2 Lion team fighting to stay atop the NFC North, where they hold a tiebreaker over Minnesota. So this could be a decent game. For the Lions, quarterback Jared Goff has been excellent this season. Second in the league in passing yards with 4,095, 33 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, and a 71% completion mark. But he will face some tough San Francisco defenders, including defensive end Leonard Floyd, who leads the team with 8.5 sacks and also has 8 tackles for loss. In a rematch of last season's NFC Championship game, Lions receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown is looking for revenge after Detroit blew a 17-point halftime lead and missed its first Super Bowl appearance. He described it as being, quote-unquote, like a horror movie and one of the worst losses of his entire life. I feel like each player that was here last year knows the feeling that we had last year, and we want to go in there and hopefully come out with a W, St. Brown said. Much has changed for the 49ers since these teams last met. The Lions have continued to ascend, while the Niners have taken a significant step back. Since 2000, this will be the 9th time the teams that met in a conference championship game will play again the following season. The home team won 7 of the 8 previous times, but with Detroit still fighting for the top seed and carrying a perfect road record, the 49ers will need a big turnaround to pull this off. One place they could start, generating turnovers. They have just 1 takeaway in their last 5 games, tied for second fewest in that span. The Lions are 7-0 on the road, which is their longest road win streak in franchise history. They have lost 14 consecutive road games to the 49ers, though, including the playoffs. The Lions can clinch the number 1 seed in the NFC and home field advantage for the NFC playoffs with a win and a Minnesota loss to Green Bay on Sunday. The FPI goes with Detroit, 62% going with the Detroit Lions, and I am going with the Detroit Lions to win this game as well. My final score is going to be 31-20. The Detroit Lions defeat the San Francisco 49ers, get their revenge for last season's NFC Championship, and then we'll see where the chips fall when it comes to Minnesota. So 31-20 Detroit wins on Monday night. So MF, Detroit and San Francisco NFC Championship rematch. I expect it to go the other way this time.
Yes, I totally agree with that. I also got the Detroit Lions to win this game as well. Unfortunately, the Niners injuries were just too much. Last week, that loss to the Miami Dolphins was the death nail for the Niners. They are officially out of playoff contention. They got nothing to play for. Detroit's got everything to play for, including the number one seed. Give me Detroit to win. So, Bullock, you got final say tonight.
Bullock, are you there? All right. I guess. All right. So with that, I'm going to take a wild guess and say he probably would go. He would probably agree with us and go with Detroit to win that game anyway. So, all right. So with that being said, that will put the bow on this latest edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday, Week 17 edition. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in as always. MF, come on in. I understand we have a very exciting and special show tomorrow night involving Talking Wrestling TXN. I believe we're going to take a look back at the year that was in professional wrestling.
Yes, it is. This is the year in review. We're going to be talking about everything that happened in the year of WWE, and we'll talk about TNA as well. So we'll get into some TNA stuff and everything else, and then of course the ultimate, the Talking Wrestling TXN awards. We're gonna give up our awards on who we think were the tag team of the year, female wrestler of the year, male wrestler of the year, some other stuff that we're gonna also flop in that we traditionally do, and we're gonna do it 10:30 tomorrow night. So Anthony, it's yours. We'll see you all tomorrow on Brace Fan 95.
Looking forward to that, man. Looking forward to that. So there you have it. Tomorrow night, 10:30, MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, our Talking Wrestling TXN 2024 year in review special. As the three of us will, look back at the year that was in professional wrestling and our year-end awards, as MF mentioned. And then Monday night, Ridiculously Raw, the final Monday Night Raw of 2024. And we'll review that. And of course, I will also have, for the final time, I will be reviewing NXT Level Up. The show will be discontinued. I will have one last review of NXT Level Up, and that will be on Monday night. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the next show we will have after that will not be until this program next week, the Week 18 edition of NFL Friday, the regular season finale. Divisional games. Notable divisional games. The Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons, the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens, the Washington Commanders and the Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams, Cincinnati Bengals and Pittsburgh Steelers, New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but the biggest of what could be the biggest one of them all, the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. Could come down to that. And then the Cerebral Smack Talk after that. And by the way, next Friday night, because of the fact that SmackDown will be a 3-hour show starting next week, we will be starting the NFL show at 11 p.m. So mark that down, 11 p.m. start time for the NFL show next week because of the 3-hour SmackDown. So that's it. So until tomorrow night for our Talking Wrestling TXN 2024 year in review special hosted by MF over on Brace Fan 95. This is Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, for Michael Bullock, and of course, in spirit, always and forever, our First Lady, the one and only Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune Force style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Saturday. And until And until tomorrow night for our Talking Wrestling TXN 2024 year in review special, you have been watching the Week 18 edition, the Week 17 edition of TXN Sports World NFL Friday, right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye. And of course, we leave you tonight by one more time saying goodbye and thank you to Greg Gumbel, who passed away at the age of 78 due to cancer. And we will never get tired of saying this about this wonderful man. To you, Greg Gumbel, one more time, we simply say on behalf of all of us here, thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and most of all, thank you for Greg Gumbel. Good night.